Hello everybody, Maven here, and this video goes out to Bungie. I know several Bungie employees have told me that they watched my videos, so thank you so much. That's very humbling. I've been playing Bungie games for most of my life, so that's insanely awesome to see. Hopefully somebody with some authority at Bungie can see this video to maybe consider implementing some of these changes to the shooting range in the tower. That's what this video is about. First of all, thank you so much for adding the shooting range. It's a lifesaver. To show you how thankful I am, look in my tracker. I have over 9,000 Lost Sector clears, and that's over Super Saiyan levels of clears, and that doesn't even count the amount of times I have just done the first 2 rooms of Hydroponics Delta and then backed out to reset it. So maybe up that number to like 15,000. I would consider myself one of the biggest testers in the player base. I mean, you got Aegis Relic, who's like the DPS person. You got the D2 Armor Picker devs, the D2 Foundry devs, the Data Compendium devs, and then you got me. I'm probably the biggest tester of like casual builds in the game. That's why I do so many build videos on my channel. This is what I do. I spend countless hours and days in Lost Sectors testing different build configurations. That's my thing. And, you know, having to do it in Lost Sectors, honestly kind of a pain, but I fell into like a deep depression after losing the Tribute Hall. That was like my go-to. But adding the shooting range brought the morale way back up. So thank you so much. It's a lifesaver. However, it's not perfect. There are some things that the shooting range is missing that I hope some of y'all can consider implementing to make it the perfect testing ground for a Destiny veteran. So let's go over some of these changes that come to mind. Hope y'all enjoy. Shout out to our sponsor, Advanced GG, the #1 gaming supplement in the world. Use code MAVEN at checkout for 10% off. Link down below. Thank you. All right, I have a lot of suggestions and these will be in no particular order, so let's just hop into it. First change. Add a postmaster and a vault in the shooting range. Personally, my inventory and vault space are almost always at full capacity, so using dim isn't the most efficient thing at times, especially when it's very congested, and I'm tired of having to go to the enclave to clear my postmaster and then realize, hey, there's a lot of cool guns in my postmaster, I'd sure like to test them out, and then I have to make a separate trip to the shooting range to do so, and then use dim to pull more weapons from the postmaster to keep trying them all out. It's a hassle. If you value quality of life, just put a postmaster and a vault in the shooting range for testing purposes. Speaking of quality of life, that brings us to the next addition, and that is an orb dispenser machine. Bungie added virtually unkillable boss tier combatants and a complex DPS counter, so clearly they are expecting us and encouraging us to test DPS strats. Yet they didn't add a machine to drop orbs of power so you can test the surge mods on your boots, which is one of the fundamentals of optimal DPS. So instead, you gotta summon smaller tier combatants, kill them for orbs, quickly resummon a boss, and then do your testing quickly before your armor charge runs out. It's incredibly impractical. Just add an orb dispenser. But if you're worried that people will spawn so many orbs for fun that it will crash the game, then instead just add a machine that you can click on that will automatically grant you armor charge. There you go, problem solved. Next up, please add a Guardian projection. Here in the Vanguard faction, please add a Guardian testing dummy so we can test out PvP stuff. I know that would be hard to program since the shooting range is basically coded as its own PvE activity with difficulty tiers just like any portal activity, so much so that you cannot fast travel away anywhere without going to orbit first. It's a legit coded PvE activity, so I understand that adding a Guardian projection to test Crucible stuff would be hard, but all I'm asking is that you try. It's something I've always wanted ever since the old Tribute Hall days, because it's incredibly annoying to have to load up a private PvP match and then invite someone over from your roster every time you want to test something, and somebody from your roster might not always be available. So it'd be more convenient to do it in the shooting range. Next up, add a DPS timer. If you really want us to have the ultimate DPS testing experience, add a timer that starts counting by the second as soon as you start dealing damage. That would give us much better calculations for burst damage strategies, because what if we want to test speedrun builds in which time is of the essence and we want to do the most DPS within a 20-second period? Then as soon as I deal that first tick of damage, there would be a little box up there next to the DPS meter that would start a clock. Next change, and this is a big one, please add a way of spawning trash mobs around boss tier combatants so we can test damage perks. If you want to test things like Surrounded, Golden Tricorn, Kill Clip, etc., you cannot. And honestly, that's one of the biggest flaws of the shooting range. Next change, move the DPS boxes. 99 times out of 100, when I test things in the shooting range, I'm standing within the bounds where ads spawn. Why? Because these pesky DPS boxes get in the way of things like explosive weapons, threadlings, and more. So just bring them down to the floor like those stage monitors that musicians use, kind of just like that. Next change, you know these buttons that change factions on the left and the buttons that reset DPS, change aggro, and delete stuff on the right? Move them. Often when you use explosive weapons or things that cause solar ignitions, you'll accidentally hit the buttons without trying to, and it disrupts your testing. So just move them over here and then over here, and they'll be good. Next change, and this one is more of a concept than anything, but I think it'd be cool if there was a respawn timer. Like, it would look sort of like this, where it would be added underneath those right side buttons, and it'd be like a plus and a minus sign with a number that you could shoot, basically just to customize the amount of seconds for ads to respawn. So say I shot that plus button 10 times, which means I'm setting a 10-second timer. So when I go killing trash mobs, they'll respawn automatically after a 10-second timer after they die. So I can keep testing stuff nonstop without having to manually summon them. That'd be a nice little quality of life. Next change, add a button that allows you to enable ammo generation. They implemented this whole new complex ammo generation stat into the game, so it's pretty obvious that players would want to test that out a bunch for things like build crafting purposes. And as it is right now, when I'm making a build based around a special or heavy, ammo is usually a big concern. And where do I have to go for my testing? Back to the good old lost sectors, which personally, I'd never like to step foot in ever again. So yeah, just add a button in the shooting range where you can enable or disable ammo generation. Next change, which is kind of a nitpicky one. This one doesn't really matter, but I just wanted to point out that there's a floating girder here. I'm pretty sure you guys already know about that, but in case you didn't, here it is. It's just floating here behind the faction buttons with no purpose whatsoever. And my final suggestion, and I saved this one for last because it's not really a quality of life change, it's just a suggestion. So Bungie has acknowledged the community by adding Greg and Carl into the shooting range, but the all-time most popular raid boss to test on is the Templar, and there are currently no raid boss projections in the shooting range, but if they did want to add one someday, the #1 culprit is definitely the Templar. People still do Templar testing to this very day, but don't give him impossibly high health like the boss tier combatants in the shooting range. Give him like the actual amount of health that he has in the Vault of Glass, so that fire teams testing raid DPS strats can sort of have a real-time testing experience for their DPS strats. It could help teams test for things like speedruns and world's first raid competitions. And that about does it for all my shooting range suggestions within reason, without nitpicking too much. I fully understand that some things are a little far-fetched and realistically tough to incorporate, but some are not, such as like adding a postmaster in a vault and moving the buttons to different spots and adding a DPS timer. Stuff like that should be pretty easy to incorporate. So there you have it, my ideas on how to improve upon the shooting range. I love the shooting range. Once again, I'm very thankful to Bungie for adding it. It's my #1 place that I test things. I've probably been in there for like over 100 hours since the launch of Edge of Fate. It's great. Thank you so much. If you have any ideas on how to improve upon the shooting range, leave your ideas down below in the comments. You know, maybe somebody from Bungie is watching the video and maybe they'll take a peek in the comments, who knows. So if any of these ideas are implemented in the future, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It's going to make my job a heck of a lot easier, and other Destiny 2 content creators would greatly appreciate it as well, I'm sure. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. See you later.